What's going on, Sooner Nation? So today we got to talk about recruiting, some more recruiting, and then maybe a little bit more recruiting at the end. Specifically, we're going to talk about 3 recruits, specifically a top defensive tackle in the entire country, a 4-star offensive tackle, and we're going to cover a linebacker that visited Oklahoma this past weekend and talk about where Oklahoma's at in his recruitment. Before we do, as always, though, I need to hear from y'all, so make sure you guys are joining the discussion, jumping down in the comments below. The task I'm giving you all today is, where do you think Oklahoma's 2026 class will land, and is there a specific recruit that you want to see Oklahoma land in this cycle? But, of course, we got to start off the news today. Steve Wiltfong dropped a little note over there on On3. If you do not have an On3 membership, you totally need to go over there and get one. But Steve Wiltfong talked about Deuce Gerald, who was just on campus for the Oklahoma Sooners this past weekend. And right here, clear as day, Oklahoma is one of the front runners for the Ballyhooded defensive tackle Deuce Gerald. He talks about his visit, and he had a little quote right there about Deuce Gerald's talking about the culture and how the people are amazing. And then he has the link to the full story, which you guys can go on to Twitter, go to Steve Wiltfong's article, and you guys can find it there. But I did want to kind of talk about Deuce Gerald's a little bit, because this is a recruitment where I think as the official visits start to come up for Deuce Gerald, this is going to be a recruitment that's going to get pretty heated for Oklahoma, but it's one that I think Oklahoma is in prime position to be able to go out there and land. I talked to somebody a couple weeks ago about Deuce Gerald. We were kind of sitting there talking about what kind of defensive tackles Oklahoma could realistically land, and I have not been on the Deuce Gerald's train 100% of the way. I thought Ohio State and obviously Larry Johnson have done a great job out there. Being a kid that is currently in Swanee, Georgia, right there in Collins Hill High School, you would imagine the University of Georgia and Kirby Smart are going to do everything they can to keep him in their state, right? And then you're going to have to deal with the usuals, the Clemsons, the Alabamas, maybe Auburn, Oregon, Texas A&M, USC. Those schools will try to get involved. But you looked at Ohio State as probably the biggest competitor to Oklahoma here. And so the couple weeks ago when I was talking to somebody, they told me, they said Oklahoma appears to potentially be a front runner in this recruitment. And although I'm still not 100% of a believer in it, if Oklahoma can be a front runner in this recruitment and land a guy like Deuce Gerald, who certainly has the capabilities to be a 5-star and has been to Oklahoma 4 times unofficially, I think this could be a great win for Oklahoma and definitely get Todd Bates rooted back into those Georgia roots that I thought Oklahoma fans really expected him to bring when he came to Oklahoma. So Deuce Gerald is a name that you really have to watch if you're an Oklahoma fan to potentially look at coming here. But then you've also got to look at a guy like Valadin Sone, who is a prospect that most Oklahoma fans, when they first saw him get the offer and they first saw him visit Oklahoma, we all knew we needed him. He's the second-ranked defensive tackle in this 2026 class. But then I look at guys like Danny Bill out there at Arkansas. I had somebody ask about him the other day. I don't think Oklahoma's super there in that one. You've got Taj Overton out at Owasso. That one, I think Oklahoma's going to end up landing him. Just seems like all the intel favors Oklahoma there. James Carrington out of Irvine, California. The only thing is, does James Carrington end up playing more outside of like a 4T or a 5T situation instead of playing on the interior because of his size? Preston Carey out at IMG Academy, I think, is another really big, interesting one that a lot of Oklahoma fans need to be paying attention to. And then Brian Harris out of Jacksonville, Florida, a name that a lot of people haven't really talked about a ton, but a guy that loves Oklahoma, has a great relationship with Todd Bates and the staff here, and a guy that I could definitely see not only taking his official visit to Oklahoma, but end up committing here. And this is a cycle where Oklahoma would probably, I would take 3 to 4 interior defensive linemen, especially since last class was such a weak cycle for Oklahoma with only getting Trenton Wilson, who's going to be an absolute stud. But with that being your only guy, you need to be able to go out there and build that room up a little bit more. So Deuce Gerald's name you got to watch. Keep your eyes peeled there. Go over there and read Steve Wiltfong's article. But a linebacker that was on campus this past week, and this is a linebacker that we really haven't talked about a ton, mainly because it felt like Oklahoma State was really trending here in Ja'Cory Smith's recruitment, as well as Nebraska. Now, I did get a chance to follow up with Ja'Cory. he did say that he would be back at OU last Saturday, and he said that some of the schools that were pushing the hardest right now and standing out were Nebraska, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. So I was wrong on the Oklahoma State side of things, where I thought Oklahoma State might have been the front runner. Sounds like Nebraska and Tennessee are going to be two of the schools that would probably give Oklahoma the biggest competition outside of Arkansas, who's the in-state school. But we've seen Arkansas not have a good track record, and this cycle already, they are losing guys in their state. So with Ja'Cory Smith, you look at teams like Nebraska and Tennessee. Nebraska's more of a defensive-minded team with Matt Rule at the helm there. Tennessee, though, does a really good job at just recruiting up and down the board. Ja'Cory Smith's been to Oklahoma like 5 or 6 times. He has a great relationship with Brent Venables. I think this is his first visit since Nate Dreiling and Wes Goodwin have been on staff, I think. And if that's, the case, he gets an opportunity to meet the staff there. So we're going to follow up with Ja'Cory Smith a little bit more, but I thought it was important to note that he was on campus and that Oklahoma does appear to be one of the top schools in his recruitment. So we'll have to see just how Oklahoma can land out there for a guy like Ja'Cory Smith, who is, I think, in my opinion, a top 150, 200 player in the country. Like, he's one of the best linebackers in this class. Now, lastly, but not least, I think somebody that we got to talk about that, again, probably doesn't get talked about enough, doesn't get enough recognition, but a guy that had Oklahoma in his top schools list is Hayden Ainsworth. Now, to be fair, we didn't know a lot about Hayden when this was first dropped, so of course we had to kind of get the scoop on his recruitment. So I got a chance to ask him, where Oklahoma currently sits. And he told me, hey, they sit very high. I love the staff and the O-line coaches more specifically. Now, I did like, and I found it interesting how he pointed out O-line coaches, because although we all know Bill Bedenbaugh is the offensive line coach, Kevin Wilson has been doing a number this season with helping Bill Bedenbaugh on the offensive line. So it sounds like Kevin Wilson has maybe had a little bit of hand in helping recruit some of these offensive linemen. So we're going to see if that pays dividends on the recruiting trail. But then I kind of asked him, hey, how does Oklahoma stand out compared to some of the other schools on your list? And he says the development, the relationship side of it, calling me every 2 weeks, and how many guys they put in the league at my position, both of those speak for itself. It's a strong historical program, and the standard they hold is very strong. Coach Bedenbaugh is a great coach who has put some guys, and he capitalized guys, in the league. That's incredible to hear as a recruit. And so I asked him, I said, hey, do you have an OV scheduled to Oklahoma? And he says, not yet. Depending on when they occur, I'm most likely unable to, because I have a full schedule already in the month of June. And if you go back and you look at some of the official visits that he already has scheduled, he's got Alabama, he's got Liberty, he's got Ole Miss. So the kid's going to be doing a couple of visits this June. We'll see if Oklahoma wants to get him out there. Champion Barbecue's taken, but the first weekend in June is open and available, which is another big weekend that Oklahoma wants to have for recruits. He's been to Georgia, Florida State, Auburn. So obviously, although he's only a 4-star with rivals, this is a guy that you can tell by his recruiting offers. A lot of schools around the country want him. So why would Oklahoma fans not want a guy like this on the Oklahoma Sooners? But that's kind of what we got for recruiting updates today. Obviously, I think the big one, the headliner of this all, is Deuce Gerald's, and finding out that, hey, Oklahoma is potentially the leader in that recruitment. So where's Oklahoma going to stand at the end of it? We'll just have to find out, though. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like, hit the subscribe button. We're constantly covering recruiting, getting recruits on for interviews. I think I got a couple lined up this week, so we'll see if we can end up making those actually happen and get those out here in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you guys hit that like, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys jump in the comments below and let me know what your guys' thoughts are.